Alright, so like I said, I wanted to get into doing some more reviews of these trucks and all that. So in this video, and not particularly my truck, just this generation of the Dodge Rams in general, 5 things I don't like about the things. First being the bodies, the metal on these things. I mean, they're a cool looking truck. And I'm going to do a video of the things I like about it too, which is going to be a lot easier to come up with things than in this video. But rust, the bodies on these things. This truck is not bad at all, especially for the state, UP of Michigan. There's a bit right here, but the rockers and the bottom of the doors are, they're a little bubbly, but they're still in pretty good shape. And then the boxes definitely go out pretty bad. That's, looks better than it actually is. But shit gets in there, and these seams, they rust right out. Rust holes like that one right over there. The box is pretty flimsy. It don't look bad yet, but it's not in real good shape. So that's the first thing that I don't like about these trucks, is the rust. The bumper is all fucked up and everything. Like I said, mine's not bad. The frames on these trucks are usually fairly solid. You don't see a whole lot of them with like a cracked frame or whatever. The frames seem to last a little bit longer than some of like the 90s Chevy frames. Although you get into like 2000s and everything, and they're just as bad. So that's one thing. The second thing, I'll pop the hood. Now I got to talk over the train, but that's okay. If you guys haven't seen any of my other videos, I put this on here, the cold air intake, because it just hangs out right here. I want to get a 90 for that to kind of bring it down in here, cut some of this rubber shit out of there. But the original air boxes, they were a box right here, and the filter was inside of that box, and they had like 3 clips on them, like that pretty much, and they were terrible. They come right in here. They really did pull in some cool air, probably cooler air than this. But the problem, one problem was they were pretty restrictive. No matter what the air temperature is, if you don't have enough, you don't have enough. It doesn't matter whether it's hot or cold. A lot of hot air is better than barely any cold air. And then, like I said, the clips, you hit a decent sized bump, they'd come undone, they'd crack, and just super flimsy. Let air by the actual air filter, and air finds other ways to get in. For one, because the system was so restrictive, and restrictive system, your engine's going to get bogged down more. I don't really notice a whole lot of power gains with this, but it does seem like it runs smoother. It does kind of, I don't know, maybe gain a little bit of responsiveness. I don't know about more power. It definitely didn't hurt it. It definitely didn't give it less power. That is for sure. If I had to choose between more or less, I would say it was definitely an upgrade. But, I don't know. If you get one of these Dodges, the 90s Dodges, what I would recommend is shell out the couple $100 for the actual decent size, decent quality and good size cold air intake from like K&N or somebody. They run right down in there, and they kind of whistle a bit too, like this one does. That's normal. You're gonna hear that with a cold air intake, but your engine will really thank you for doing that. They really seem to run a lot better without the stock ones. Now on the Chevys and Fords, them air boxes really aren't that terrible. I think most of the Chevys kind of come over to this side in the 90s, but I could be wrong on that. But just as far as reliability goes, that's a lot better system than the original Dodge one. So that's the second thing that I fucking hate about these trucks. Third thing, which I'm not really going to get underneath there and show you all that. So that's a brief one. The 4-wheel drive Dodges of this era, they had some front end problems. Axles, U-joints. This is a 2-wheel drive. I think it needs new control arm bushings or whatever. It kind of creaks and stuff when you're going slow over bumps. Eventually, I'd like to put a whole new suspension in this thing, like a 1-ton 2-wheel drive. You know, like front end in it and possibly rear end too. Maybe not the axle, but just the leaves. And that way it'll sit a little bit more level for one thing. You know, sit up a little bit higher. It'll look cool. A little bit more reliable maybe, considering I don't really need a 1-ton or 1-ton suspension. So if I have it anyways, I'm not really going to be putting a whole lot of stress on a 1-ton system. So that was third thing. Fourth thing, yeah, I got a wheel cover on there and zip tied. I got to clip those off. I might just do away with the cover altogether. But this is a steering wheel cover I had in my white 87 Dodge. By the way, in case any of you were wondering, I don't have that truck anymore. Really kicking myself every day for having to sell it. But the engine did go to good use. It was that 71 318 out of a motorhome. And the engine was pulled out and rebuilt, dropped in a Ram Charger. That thing is pretty badass. It's like an 85 or an 86 Ram Charger. Really nice truck. I probably won't ever get a video of that. You know, the guy that bought that truck was, I don't want to call him an asshole, but he was definitely kind of antisocial. So anytime I try and get a hold of him, which was like once or twice a couple of years ago, and he didn't really have much to say, I figured he'd want to talk about the thing. You know, hell yeah, this thing's really cool. And he's like, yep, we rebuilt it. Put it in, it still runs, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, okay, you know. If you're a truck guy, you'd want to talk about it a little bit more than that. But I guess not. So another thing I hate about these, like I said, steering wheel. Particularly, you know, like the spokes. I mean, I don't mind the way they look. They are kind of a cool looking steering wheel. Not two things, but one or the other that I wish they would have done different for the steering wheels. On a long trip, if you're driving, hands kind of like right around in here, you know. And these are bigger, wider trucks. The tie rods in this one are a little bit tired out, but all these older trucks had kind of loose steering. So if you're pulling a trailer and it's really windy like it is up here in the UP, I mean, you're kind of white knuckling it, doing this shit back and forth a lot. And it would really help if the spoke was kind of from here to like up here, or if it was thinner, like my 87 Dodge. Well, the 77 I had, I really like that steering wheel. It's like straight bracket kind of all the way across. The 87, kind of the spokes in the same position, but they were a lot thinner. Your hand just fit over them better. Your hand just fit the steering wheel better. You know, or like the 80s Ford trucks, you know, had that kind of spoke like that. It would come up here and then straight over and then right back down again. And your hand just fit well on it, and I kind of wish they did that too. Another thing, also being an interior thing I don't like about these, that's not real comfortable when you're riding. You know, my elbow kind of rests right there. And for most people, this wouldn't be a serious problem, but, you know, working back on the dairy farms and everything, I've broke both of my elbows, more than once actually. So resting your elbow on this thing for a good couple of hours, not very fun. So I think that's pretty much the fifth thing I've mentioned. Trying to really think of anything else I don't like. The transmissions, they're right down in there. They're the 46RH, and the transmission that really seems to give Dodge its bad name for transmissions is the 46RE. Really similar transmission, but this is a lot more hydraulically and vacuum controlled. And guys, I am not a transmission expert. I know what they do. I really can't tell you much about how they do it. I probably couldn't rebuild a transmission. Maybe if it was already a working transmission, I could rebuild it and it would still work. But if someone gave me a non-functioning transmission and said, make this thing work, that's beyond my skill set. I might be able to figure it out, but it ain't like I'm just going to know what to do like I would with an engine. So the thing I don't like about the transmission, so far this one has been pretty durable. A lot of the RHs are more durable than the REs. You know, they shift pretty smooth and all that. The shifting sequence for these, I believe, is first gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear, which is overdrive, but fourth gear, the torque converter is not locked up. And then, you know, like the next shift point is, you know, fourth gear, overdrive, and the torque converter is locked up. So it acts kind of like a 5-speed. And I can't really say I like that or dislike that. The thing I don't like is kind of the kickdown points, I guess. Like, fourth gear, torque converter. Yeah, I know I got sandals on and my weird looking fucking feet. So, like, fourth gear with torque converter locked up, you know, say you got the gas down to about there and you're going up this hill and you give it, not like all the gas, obviously, but a decent bit more. These 360s make 318s, 360s, any of these, you know, Dodge V8s, you know, the gassers. They make peak torque really between 2,500 and 3,000 RPM, which is not super low, but it's lower than Fords, or really even lower than the Chevy 350. I think the 350, as far as actual torque numbers, they're right up there with each other. The 350 might even be a little bit higher. But that makes peak torque kind of closer to, like, you know, 3,500 RPM. This does it like 2,700, 2,700. So you have enough torque. If you could give the engine enough gas, you would have enough torque to make it up that hill without downshifting. But that's the thing. It does downshift. It downshifts sooner than it needs to. That's my argument with these transmissions and the way they kick down. You could give them a lot more throttle and they would be perfectly fine to climb the hill or whatever you need them to do, but instead they want to kick down. And instead of kicking down into fourth gear with the torque converter unlocked, it goes right into third, which isn't a big deal either. But it'd be really nice if they would just go into that fourth gear with the torque converter unlocked. And what you can do to kind of make that happen is if your foot's on the gas, instead of just giving it more, you know, you can have it on and then lift off and then give it some more gas a bit, and that'll unlock the torque converter. But it's kind of hard to do that because, for one, if you're going up a hill and you're letting off the gas, you're breaking your power for a minute, so you're going to slow down even more. And you got to find the perfect amount to give it, because if you give it a little bit too much, it'll go right down into third gear anyways. Or it holds that fourth gear unlocked for a minute and then locks right back in. You've got to find the perfect sweet spot for it to unlock the torque converter but stay in fourth gear. And that's kind of a pain in the ass, you know, like the E4ODs or the AOD transmissions for Fords, like the 302s and 351s, they're a lot higher revving engine than these. They make torque at a lot higher RPM than these. You know, they're a really good highway engine. So if you're doing, you know, 65 down the highway or something and overdrive's off, you can put the pedal right to the floor and they'll downshift all the way into second gear and rev 4,000 RPM and be just fine. At 4,000 RPM, your engine is still productive in those things. These Dodges, they still kick down like the Fords, but it's useless. At 4,000 RPM, you're just kind of revving the piss out of your engine for no good reason. And I wish it was kind of more like the Chevys, the 4L60s and the 4L60Es. Also not a great transmission, but they seem to have the kick down pretty good. The transmission plays with the engine really well. These, not so much. It's hard to explain. But that's about it for this video. As far as what I recommend you buy one of these trucks, hell yeah, they're awesome. Don't let the whole transmission talk scare you away from them. Even the 46 REs, they don't cost a whole lot to rebuild. You can rebuild them to be reliable, you know, upgrade them. Yeah, it's a little bit of extra money, but they're worth it. They can be a very durable transmission, especially the RHs. They really are pretty cost effective. You know, you really don't have to put a whole ton of money into them to make them be really reliable. And you can, tune them too if you have someone who knows what they're doing to tune them. There's certain things you can do to kind of fix the whole kick down issue, like I said. I just wish that you could give it a little bit more throttle without it kicking down, because if you're really giving it gas at the low RPM, it makes serious torque. But as soon as it downshifts, it kind of defeats the whole purpose of that. So that's about it. I'm going to have another video of probably 5, 10, or even 15 things that I really like about this truck a lot. That's a video for another time. This is already a 14-minute video. This is going to take over a week to load. Up here where we're at, we don't have Wi-Fi or anything, and we only usually have like 1 bar of cell service, and it's going to take a long time. So Anyway, that's about it. You guys will probably be seeing this in the next video, sometime within the next month, maybe month and a half. And thanks for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. That's it. Bye.